In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. Fitzgerald.
The American dream in the 20s was gilded because while it seems like people were working hard for their money, people were willing to go to extreme lengths to achieve their perceived success, and money was no longer coming from honest means.
But have the times gotten better? Are people today more willing to put aside their money for their morals? Or are we just as classist today as we were in the 20s?
In The Great Gatsby, characters chose their money and business interests over their morals and relationships. Meyer Wolfsheim, Gatsby's longtime friend and business partner, ultimately forsakes his interests in Gatsby and neglects to attend Gatsby's funeral to pay his respects. Wolfsheim's greed, selfishness, and materialistic nature overpowers his personal connection to Gatsby.
Greed has no limits, and people in some cases will subordinate their values or their conscience in an effort to gain something that they perceive to have value. So yes, people are still willing to compromise themselves in order to make money. That being said, I think that the people who are born with money might take it more as a given, just like we take the oxygen in the air or the light in the sky is something that just occurs naturally, as opposed to someone who had to earn it and didn't have it initially. So there are instances where people who have had to earn it later on may value money or look at it in a way differently than people who did not.
Greed does not limit itself to those in business, however. Plenty of those in the top 1% already have more than enough for the world, but their desires are insatiable. When Gatsby holds his extravagant parties, no expense is excessive.
The great event of 1928, dear.
Here's a Japanese sandman sneaking on with a view. Just an old second-hand man, he'll buy your old day from you. He will take every sorrow of the day that is through, and he'll give you tomorrow.
I think that opulence and that extreme life does exist. I think it exists definitely in Silicon Valley, in this area, where you have people, last year, a friend's graduation party, they had Maroon 5 performing. I mean, they're 18 years old, they have Maroon 5 coming to perform at a party for them. That's pretty much in that level. So but that's always existed in life. You're always going to have that person. But I think in the Silicon Valley, it is becoming much more prevalent, where you go to a party and spending $2 million on a party is not a big deal. That's what they do. And that's kind of the norm for those who live in that level. That's what one does. And that would be the Great Gatsby way of living, or the perceived way of he lived fuller than life in a very party atmosphere.
As the rich got richer, the Gatsbys of the world started to show off their wealth more with lavish mansions and luxurious automobiles. But now, the rich are becoming overwhelmingly rich, and as they stifle the opportunities of the poor by the sheer breadth of their own successes, the poor are getting poorer.
I mean, the numbers that are quoted in the news and aren't refuted are that, the richest are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and the middle class are getting closer to the poor than they are to the rich. So I think it's just gotten worse, but it's got so extreme. That's what's disturbing. Like I said, the volume of money in the hands of a relatively small number of people, but that number is growing as well, and the sheer quantity of money that some of these people have.
The types of things we buy, the way that we live has changed with the new technology and advancements. But the underlying human desires, I think, are generally the same. And in terms of the classes, I think that in certain respects that has become more extreme because greater amounts of wealth have been created. So the individuals who are in control of that are even further ahead than the people who have not had that opportunity. Take someone like Bill Gates, right, who's made so many billions of dollars running Microsoft. that wasn't possible to make billions of dollars 100 years ago. So that's an example of where there's a greater disparity in wealth.
I mean, I grew up probably in the top 10% of the world, but now the way I live, I'm middle class. Because the way wealthy have gotten so wealthy that it's totally changed the structure. But middle class is disappearing.
But how did this happen in the first place, and how can the poor break out of their disadvantageous position on the socioeconomic ladder? Some still believe in the virtues of honest, hard work.
I think it gets back to that concept of opportunity, right? Which is tied to the freedoms that we have in this country, and people can come from not only people who are born here, but people who immigrate to the U.S. from other parts of the world have really unparalleled opportunities to succeed in terms of what they define as success. And that doesn't necessarily just mean making money. It could also be doing charity work or volunteering or getting tremendous education. So I think the American dream, if I were to use one word to capture it, it's about opportunity. And opportunity is defined by the individual.
People who have to work for money, I think, appreciate the success of money. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you may question those who haven't worked for it. And their view of money is different. It has to do with work ethic.
Okay.
Being driven to be successful. In this country, anybody can be successful. Mm-hmm. You simply have to get an education. You don't even have to get an education, but really you have to work. You have to be committed to something that you love and work. That is the key.
While that may have been true once, times have changed. The center for the key to success in America has shifted, and employers are touting different values.
More than most other places in the United States, perhaps New York, Palm Beach, you got other areas that can live in that kind of a structure. But Silicon Valley definitely falls in that area right now, where the rich are so rich that they just do things like that just seem to last, 10, 15 years. 80% of the wealth of the country has been produced here. So they're saying the whole problem with why it's so crowded here, the average family 15 years ago would have had 2 cars. Now the average family has 3 cars or 4. So that's why there's so many more people on the road and people coming in. And, when I was younger, everyone went to New York. That's where you went. You went to New York because Wall Street in the 80s was it. That's where you had your chance to hit it big. Now, everyone out of college is coming here because this is where you have the chance of hitting it big. So you have the influx of the younger generation coming in and filling up the job markets because this is where the jobs are, because this is where the money's being made, this is where right now what is in. And it will change and it will ebb and flow, and in 15 years or 20 years it'll be something else and the city won't be the city anymore. It just changes.
In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had.
Again, we all have a lot to be grateful for, especially those of us growing up here in Silicon Valley. We live in a beautiful place. Many of us have a lot of opportunities, a lot of challenges too, and we work very hard. But we should always maintain our humility and respect toward everybody, realizing that not everybody in the world has the same benefits and advantages that we do, and we should use our skills and energy to try to benefit those other people.
People will always want more. There will always be another New York, and there will always be another Silicon Valley. But the best we can hope for is that there will be a Nick Carraway to ground us in our humanity.